Vicky, and I'm an intuitive coach, and I'm coming on to do you a reading for the end of 2021 and looking at what the biggest lesson is that you can take from this year. And the reason is so you can just take what you need from this year. So as you move into the last few days of this year and reflect upon what this year has meant for you, you do not need to bring all of anything that might feel heavy with you. You can just bring the lesson and apply it to the new year. And watch how doing that will change your ability to manifest what you want. So it's kind of very much just taking what you need. So where can you kind of clear your energy and kind of lighten the load and start the next year feeling kind of fresher, but also kind of wiser. So let's pull some cards for you for that, and we'll see what comes out for you. So let me know in the comments if this resonates, and if you're interested in a personal reading where we'll kind of go more into your own circumstances, the details are in the comments. And you can book those there. So let's see what comes through. So the lesson that you most need to take from this year, 2021, because there might be more than one, but there's probably a theme that will resonate most with you. Okay. Just pull the cards out and then I'll go through them. It's very interesting what's coming out so far. Okay, so there's a very big water theme here. So if you are, I would say just intuitively, if you are a water sign, this might, or have water particularly in your chart, this may especially resonate with you. It doesn't have to, it's just a kind of observation. So the situation currently is the milk and honey cards come out, and this is kind of, as you see on this card, it's kind of things that are kind of good and comforting and bright and kind of joyful and fun. And my feeling about this is the first part of understanding your lesson from this year is looking at what has blocked you from having that feeling. Because there are moments of joy available to us, even in the most uncertain of times, which I'm sure you have been feeling on some level this year and in recent times. But there are still moments to be had. When we think of a rainbow, there may have been a lot of rain beforehand, but there's still that moment when the rainbow comes through, when something else light shines through, as it were. And are you making space for those moments? So are you taking the time to kind of to have delightful moments in your life? Because there's some things that you cannot control or change, but you can allow yourself to have moments of happiness. In terms of what crosses this, is the unfinished sympathy card. And to me, this card very much, not only is it what's unfinished, but what are you holding back from? And if you've been following me, you'll know that I'm an intuitive coach, but I help people with their purpose. So to me, this is really about where these moments that you've been kind of missing the rainbow, where it's kind of kept you sat kind of almost in this waiting, and nothing gets finished when you're just kind of sat waiting. We all need time to get a perspective and reflect, but then there's also a time where action needs to happen. And conversely, when we allow ourselves these kind of moments of joy, it can kind of ignite in us the creativity and passion to take action and to take different action, to have different intention behind our actions. So where have you been kind of sat, maybe waiting longer than you maybe needed to, and holding yourself back? That seems to be the first part of the lesson, is where you've been holding yourself back. Now, what was interesting about where this is going is to the sea. And as you'll notice, there is kind of, she's in this, it almost looks like a little paper origami boat, but she kind of has what she needs to see where she's going and to get her bearings, but there's nothing around her. But there is a very faint image of a face here, which kind of represents kind of deeper knowing to me. So where you want to go might not kind of, you might not have all the landmarks showing up to show you the exact way. But when you've got the information, but you can still have the information that you need to get there. But it requires connecting to the kind of deeper knowing within you, using your intuition, using your gifts, getting guidance. And that requires you to kind of come out of this place of just kind of sitting and waiting. And what's interesting is that the kind of what's the founding kind of message of the spread is the message in the bottle card, which is kind of waiting. Again, it's waiting for a message to come, waiting for a call to come, waiting for something external to take place before you can kind of set sail. And it's very much about putting control and the power in things outside of you. You can have this, beautiful symphony as a metaphor for whatever it is that you're here to create, whatever your purpose is, and you're putting its future, its creation, in the hands of something that, literally like a message floating along the sea. You've no idea when that's coming. So what does this message represent to you? Is it permission? Is it approval from someone? Is it money or a belief or something that only once you receive this, that then you can move forward? Because whatever this is, if you ask yourself deep down, isn't it something that you can give to yourself? Is what I'm kind of feeling about it. Because there's, you know, this message could get lost. This message could literally, the bottle could break and the message could sink and be lost forever. It could take years and years to get to you. I'm just reading the cards intuitively. You know, you might even start your journey and you're still waiting for this message and your paths might never cross. So I think it's kind of understanding why you've been in this kind of waiting, this place of waiting. What does this message represent to you? And interesting enough, in the past, what's come up is the community card. So in this context, this is kind of, you know, I mean, the image here is very much of a parent-child. To me, for this spread, this sort of says that there's a kind of parental figure or prominent figure from your past, perhaps from your childhood, who is kind of the keeper of this message that you've been waiting for. And it's almost like the dynamic there's a power dynamic, the dynamic of control, which might be approval or however it plays out, which is almost kind of like contractually binding and keeping you in this place. So if you imagine some of the greatest artists and composers and sculptors and painters and poets and writers, people who we can kind of tangibly see they created something beautiful, what would have happened if they'd been waiting for their parents or their family or their culture to give them permission to create the thing that they were here to create? It may never have come into creation. And that would have deprived the world of something beautiful that was meant for others, not just for the person that created it, but it was meant to be experienced by others. So I think it takes the awareness to see there's something, I mean, in this image, you know, one interpretation is obviously there's love being exchanged here, but there's also that this figure is being kept small by this bigger figure. And one of the most precious commodities that you have, if not the most precious, is your time. And, you know, when it comes to creating what you're really here to create, your time is very, very important. Because, and this is interesting, the way these cards have come out, what's possible, or, you know, what could be just around the corner when you set off on this journey. I mean, look, there's no accident these two cards have come out, is Treasure Island. This is one of the most promising, abundant cards of this deck. This is where, when you kind of set sail and you kind of actually get on your journey, that's where you're off to. And Treasure Island represents everything. It's the money, it's the love, it's the fulfillment. It's having the milk and honey moments, not as just like little blips on the horizon, not just a kind of fleeting rainbow after a big storm. It's actually bringing this energy into being, into kind of a prominent way of being every day, as, you know, the kind of the strongest feeling that you may have on a day-to-day basis. So this holding back, and that's possible through this trust, not listening to this old voice, but trusting in what you actually know. And you've spent enough time sitting on your egg thinking about it, and you can see there's also this faint face here. So there's a match here of the face and the face. So this is the same wisdom. You've kind of sat here pondering this, and this is what you're going to take on your journey, but you don't need to actually sit thinking about it any longer, because you've done all the thinking. Where you are now is needing to take action. And that part of that action stems from you deciding that you are going to create your own message. You're going to be your own messenger. You're going to be the person that says, okay, I'm ready, I can do this. I give myself permission. I allow myself to fully expand into what my purpose is. And I'm not going to hold back for anybody or anything. This is the not only is this taking action, but this is Yang's, the masculine energy, but this is also gathering all your energy and then knowing where to direct it. And that knowing is very important, because what's going to happen, the cards tell messages between cards. It's really fascinating how the artwork does that. Not only do we have the continuation of the bunting, but the continuation of the colour scheme and the kind of this is kind of the giraffe pattern, but underneath this, it's kind of which is what we saw in this card. Underneath this, it's breaking away to be zebra stripes. It's that doing that, breaking away from this past dynamic, is going to cause some kind of chaos and conflict, which may be why you've been sat kind of pondering it for so long, because you're trying to be kind of risk averse. And the thing is about following your purpose, we kind of think, oh, it's just a nice thing to do, but it actually, depending on your purpose, how you choose to play it out, you're potentially you're being, even just being the sort of the biggest expression of yourself, you could be challenging very long held beliefs and ways of being. So say in your family, you might be really stepping outside of the box of what has been accepted and what has been known, and that can kind of really kind of disrupt the energy exchange that you have within your family. That's not saying that you should spend another moment of your life waiting, but just to be aware, because underneath the kind of veneer of how you've been brought into this world is perhaps something underneath which is stronger and is actually your sort of true identity. And the kind of the way out of the chaos and conflict is the loyal heart. And this came through in the reading I did yesterday. And when you actually truly follow your heart, you kind of can't go too wrong. The issue that so many people have is that their heart space is very blocked, because when you're connected fully to your heart, it's just truth, your truth. You don't have to try to fit in or try to, be something that you're not, because it just is. It's very difficult to sit and consciously and continuously look into the eyes of another or yourself when you're not being true to yourself. But when you're fully connected to your heart, you feel the energy through your eyes. You can see it when you're actually doing something that is meaningful to you. And then on the other hand, when you know that you're in the job that doesn't fulfill you, when you know that you're in a relationship that doesn't make you happy, and you look deeply into your own eyes, you know. You don't need to spend any time thinking about it because you already know. The issue, as I said, is that many people have blocks around their heart, perhaps because they've had to protect their heart because their heart wasn't kind of fully accepted. Because all of this is leading to, first of all, in terms of the lesson, what this represents as a lesson is kind of very similar to what came out yesterday. So I think it must be a strong message that probably a lot of people need to hear right now is, looking at where you've been waiting, looking at what you're kind of not allowing yourself to have, but looking at where you're blocked. And as a coach, I work with energy as well. And just to give you a very brief kind of insight into it, you have a channel that runs through you, which allows your energy to kind of run clearly through you. And when it can run in the kind of clearest way, purest way, that's when you can be your most powerful. When you have a blockage, so you have a blockage around your heart space, that kind of stops the energy in the center of your body and then kind of reduces its potency because it's blocked. It can't kind of run in a clear fashion. So whenever you apply your energy to everything, it will always be diminished. You can have the best intention behind it, but when you have a kind of energetic block, you're just kind of not working with all that you have. And therefore, what you create will not be all that you can create. So it's kind of really beneficial to start having an awareness about this and looking at how to clear your space, the space within yourself. Because all these cards that you're creating, they all have space around them. They're all kind of pure. If you're a water or maybe even air sign, this maybe particularly resonates with you, they all have this kind of water air theme, but also this just space around them. So this is, living your purpose and being free to live your purpose. So I think the lesson is really looking at where you're blocked around being connected to that. Because what's coming, another blue card, is the Imagine card. Again with water, again with the loss of air, again with kind of the moon represents kind of what's not obviously seen, but what is known. And this is, and there's a very kind of faint figure here, kind of casting out what they want to have. And this is where Treasure Island goes to. This is where this journey takes you to, is actually imagine if you could create what you wanted for your life. How would it actually look? How would it get to be? And it comes from clearing the things that block it. At the bottom of the deck is breathe. And if you've ever done any kind of breath work, that is a very big part of energy clearing, because our breath is used for so much more than just actually kind of filling our lungs to kind of breathe to keep us alive. We can breathe in a very shallow sense and still be alive, but there's so much more you can do with your breath. It's a very powerful tool that most of us have never been taught how to fully use. So you can literally, learn, and if you'd like to learn more about this, then reach out to me. You can literally learn how to create what you want through learning how to use your breath more. So I think, this is, you do not need to take what I said at the beginning of the read, is you do not need to take all of your personal family history stuff with you into this next kind of chapter, but the lesson of where are my blocks, how am I going to release these blocks so I can start to create what I want, how am I going to let go of some of these old stories. You do not need to take the old stories with you. They're not serving you. There's just a lesson that they represent. It's kind of really kind of sorting out, the journey that this person that has taken hardly anything with them, just really what they need. Obviously, you might have a few more possessions than that, but it's a way of looking at it. You don't need those old constructs to come with you. Just because they served other people in the past doesn't mean that they are for you. Let's pull a card from Work Your Light. See what comes through. See if there's because look, it's another blue card with water and air and the moon and stars. And this is the Mintakan card, longing for home, belonging, the original light workers. So perhaps you are actually a light worker and you've been kind of held down by these old kind of constructs. And so actually to fully transcend into this mission that you have to let go of this, but you're not losing this. So this is, the thing that kind of what keeps people stuck for such a long time is you're not losing something. You're not losing your family history. You're not losing the things that are important to you, but you're just letting go of what is holding you back and keeping you stuck. You can still have love for people and not need to take on all of their beliefs into how you live your life. You can still have happy memories, but not need to keep playing out the same dynamics over and over to the point of exhaustion. It's just looking at what's the lesson that I need from this. And as I said, I think this is particularly if you are, and at the bottom of this deck is the Break the Chain card. So it's too funny not to, there's no accident in how cards come out. Ancestral patterns, healing, rewriting the future. That's what you're doing with this. The potential outcome of this is you are rewriting the future, and that may feel like it's on a very personal level, but it actually resonates much, much further afield than you could possibly realize. And that's why I said, the kind of the chaos and conflict may arise because it is chains that run, chains and patterns that run deep, long established, but they're not working now. So it's very much, I feel, a lesson for kind of really looking at what isn't working and taking, it doesn't mean that you have to cut everyone off and you have to throw everything away and you have to kind of completely dismiss anything or any previous version. It's just taking the bits that you really need and going forward with them. So I feel that was the messages for today. A very, very blue spread overall. But I hope this is helpful, and wishing you the very happiest of New Years for bringing in 2022. And I shall see you all soon. Bye for now.